Okay, we're going to go a little further into the beech flower remedies for you, and we're going to start with a synopsis of the 38 remedies themselves. Now there's, you'll notice that some essence sets call flower essences, and some call them remedies. In the bark flowers, they're called remedies. A little technicality, it's not really an issue. And like I said in the last session, in the last section of this session, Edward Beech really wanted a very simplistic system that was accessible to everyone. It didn't require intervention if that person really wanted to choose their own remedy. They had the capacity to do so. So he broke them up, because there's 38 of them, into different subheadings, and this was his way of simplifying as best as he could the predominant emotional states that people are presented with, and that would narrow down the remedies of choice basically for people. So he went through the following: fear, uncertainty, etc., and we're going to give you a list of the flowers from each of them, and this is going to be the template for the next couple of sessions. So we're going to learn the beech flowers by their individual emotional subheadings. The first is fear, and that'll be the first lot that we studied in this session. So rock rose, mimulus, cherry plum, aspen, and chestnut. And what we find is each of these flower remedies address fear, but there are so many different nuances to fear. There's so many different ways that people experience fear, or perhaps have a relationship to fear, a learnt way of being with fear that is kind of freezing them in that moment, so they can't flow through life. They can't be centered in that moment for whatever trigger is moving them into that fear state. And so these flowers are there to address the emotional state. It's less that fear is the problem. Fear is something to be conquered. Fear is something that will never ever be there. As soon as we take rock rose, it suddenly disappears and it's never part of our human existence. It's that we develop a relationship with fear that doesn't lead to states of disease, that doesn't lead us to move away from our center, that enables us to recognize the situation for what it is. And of course fear is necessary. That's a survival instinct. To be rid of it is would be its own imbalance. So the goal with flower essences is never to get rid of or conquer or fix the emotion. The emotion isn't the problem. It's our connection or our story to the emotion that can create the stuckness that leads to disease. Uncertainty. I always joke that uncertainty is an ironic kind of subheading. If you're uncertain about life, then how are you going to choose a flower from the list of uncertain flowers? Bad joke, maybe. Insufficient interest in the present, and these are for loads of different reasons, and we'll go through them one by one in a couple of weeks' time, a couple of sessions' time. But insufficient interest in the present simply means that if you think of it from a mindfulness point of view, you're not in the present moment. There's a reason why your attention is continuously in other places in a way that is not serving you, in a way that's not helpful, in a way that's presenting problems with your life. So whilst it's very normal for the brain to kind of think ahead, think of everything that's happened behind, pull all that information together for you and interpret what's happening in the present moment, it's when it becomes skewed in one direction or another, and your energy is consequently drained. Loneliness, there's lots of reasons for loneliness. Oversensitivity, despondency and despair, quite a lot for that one. Overcare, so over concern or over care for others where it's not balanced or healthy. And this is, so they are the subheadings and the flowers that are within the subheadings. And yes, you will have to remember the subheadings and what's in them. We're now moving into another theory about how the bark flower remedies are broken up. And you can see that each of those subheadings are on this poster, but they're also assigned a particular colour. And there is one theory that those colours were representing perhaps the different colour therapies. There is a belief that, or there is one theory I should say, that these represented different chakras, and the colour corresponded with different chakras, and therefore the different subheadings corresponded with different chakras, and that's one theory. So this is the overview of the theory. And we see things like the base chakra being the colour red. If we go back to the picture, you can see the fear, the despondency and despair there. And the red chakra, the base chakra, is to do with fight or flight, so your ability to respond to a situation appropriately and have the energy to do so. And a lot of those remedies address when there just isn't the fight left in the individual anymore. And it goes through the different remedies there. So for instance, the other one that I wanted to highlight was the heart chakra, which is the colour of green. And the flowers that are within this group are oversensitivity, and actually all of the flowers in that group address specifically the heart, and due to oversensitivity, somebody kind of closing off or hardening their heart. Maybe you heard of that term before, hardening of the heart. And the positive outcome of all of those flowers are pretty similar, which is unconditional love or transformation, the ability to express love in a positive way. So it's interesting, it's an interesting theory. And now, thinking of the doctrine of signatures, I've grouped the different flowers following on from that theory into their particular colours, the predominance of their colours, and how that may or may not correlate to our ideas of the colours from the doctrine of signatures. So I just wanted to move through this relatively quickly. This is again just a theory, but it's interesting. So what I want you to look at with all of these flowers is knowing what we know of the colour white, which is often symbolic of purity or spiritual purity. Sometimes it's connected, if you're thinking of the chakras, with the top chakra. In some cultures it's associated with birth or marriage. In other cultures it's associated with death and passing on, and in some it's both. And so each of these flowers are for relatively different conditions. So we may think that the white coloured flowers are, the white colour isn't necessarily kind of the be-all and end-all of the doctrine of signatures. There may be some similarities there, and you may see that that colour of white is really significant in some flowers, but perhaps there's other aspects of the doctrine of signatures of these flowers that really need to be taken into consideration. So Star of Bethlehem is a good one for the colour of white. Star of Bethlehem is the H flower for shock. And the way that shock is sometimes described, particularly from an energetic point of view, is like there's a dissociation between the energetic body and the physical body. And that may occur for quite some time. And so it's kind of the bringing back of those two bodies, if you would like to call them that. That is Star of Bethlehem. It kind of marries the two bodies back together again and enables someone's energy to flow more freely and in a balanced way again. And the colour of white is often associated with the energetic body, with the energetic being, with the connection with the energetic being. So that may be one thing to think about. So with different colours, you can look at lots of different examples of colour therapy. We talked about colour in the first session with the doctrine of signatures. Purple has sometimes been considered the colour of protection and the colour of vulnerability, the colour of openness to life and to love. It's not really associated with a chakra, so it doesn't fit into that colour system, but there are lots of cultural overtones with purple. It's often associated greatly with religions, so there's a spiritual aspect and importance to purple for quite a few different religions. So we've got flowers in there like impatiens, and impatiens is a beautiful example of, in the positive, the ability to truly love and appreciate another person. And impatience is kind of a dissociation from others, almost like in order to have impatience, you have to assume that you're better than, that the way that you do it is better than the way that it's currently being done. And so impatience is a softening, and to me that's really symbolic of the colour purple. That vulnerability, softening, loving others, truly loving others. Blue coloured flowers, there's lots of different ideas around blue. So calmness, consistency, focus, often considered to be cooling. And chicory is a great example of that. Chicory is quite, if you're thinking of cooling and heating, chicory is a hot state. You know, it's kind of selfishness and self-centeredness and trying to manipulate others to do your bidding. And so that the clarity that comes with chicory is a cooling quality. It's a calming quality. It's a flower that when you match it to a person, it brings them such peace in their heart. And that is similar to my ideas of blue. Green coloured flowers, there's actually quite a few in the bark flowers. Yellow and orange. So with these flowers, think about the colours themselves and do they have a correlation to the flower that you're looking at. Red coloured flowers, red we talked a little bit about when we did the doctrine of signatures as being vitality and strength and being able to fight or run away, whatever is required. It's a very tribal kind of essence. And it's also about being grounded, having a sense of being connected to the earth, having a sense of being kind of this earth. And so oak is a great example of groundedness. If you think of an oak tree, it's a huge tree that kind of can carry the weight of the world on its shoulders. When we look at the flower, that's the lesson of oak, is to remain grounded and to remain centered and to be able to say no when it's appropriate, and all of these things that require if you're looking at the chakras, the first chakra. And pink coloured flowers. Pink is often associated with the higher heart in spirituality, so true unconditional love, but it's a softening, nurturing, kind of mothering colour. And a lot of these remedies are for that lack of nurturing, lack of connection with nurturing, lack of being able to kind of unconditionally express love. There has to always be a condition there, a way to keep people in. So that's just one way of looking at the beech flowers, a couple of theories and ideas around analysing them and breaking them into parts, etc. And it's up to you whether this information is helpful or not. I just really wanted to start you thinking about the doctrine of signatures as applied to flower essences, and one of the first and most easiest ways is through colour. So have a think about colour and how it applies to these essences as a way of understanding and pulling apart the doctrine of signatures, because we're going to be doing this for the whole semester, so it'll help you to start to think about these things now. Next up we have the beech flowers for fear.